Said, she said otherwise, she said everything I checked said was in perfect shape. Said he was in the best health of any man I ever seen.
I have an aversion to going to doctors myself.
But anyway, that just, you never know.
And I have diagnosed Betsy with a new malady this week.
Yeah, I was going to apologize for diagnosing your tiredness. Well, go ahead and tell us what you diagnosed Betsy with.
She has nomophobia.
What's she afraid of then?
Being without cell phone or electronic device.
Is that a real thing?
I was on the Microsoft page of news and such, and it had, I forgot, 25 or 29 weird phobias, and I thought I would check them out, and that was one of them. It's called nomophobia.
That's all we need is a list of things that we might have to read to fill our mind with scary possibilities. Well, yeah, I think if there was an EM pulse and we all lost our television and phones and everything, we'd all, not all of us, but I guess we'd have a societal collapse.
Well, kids don't even go outside and play anymore like they used to. They stay inside and play with a computer and...
Henry thinks that's how we're going to have our next, warfare is going to be, that they're going to attack our computers.
It makes a lot of sense. It would, they can also shut down our electrical grid and, we'd just be back in the Stone Age again. And China has probably the technological ability to do that. So but I could see maybe if China owned the United States, it would just be like inviting someone to come live with you, and you had to feed them, take care of them, watch over them. But as long as they can sell us stuff, it's like we're a pretty good customer. I don't know why they would want to put us out of business so that they could own us. I don't think I would want to own the United States. When I see people running for public office, I wonder why they want to do that. Why would they want to be a president or a governor or a senator? Well, I guess there's lots of reasons that have nothing to do with making a difference or improving things. All right, we're just now logged on, and Ned was telling us that Betsy's going to, you said Birmingham on Tuesday.
Birmingham Monday, Vanderbilt on Tuesday.
All right, let me get that right.
And I go to the knee doctor Wednesday.
Be sure to tell him about your lack of endurance and your difficulty with fatigue. I guess anytime we have some kind of trauma, though, it probably affects our overall system. But what day you're going on Thursday? Wednesday. I don't know why I'm not getting anything right. That always, you pull up to the drive-up to get a hamburger, and I said, I want a hamburger and fries and Coke. And they said, you want fries with that? I said, yeah. What do you want to drink? A Coke. So you want a chicken sandwich, fries? And I said, no, I want a hamburger. Are you not listening to anything I'm saying? I don't really say that. I just endure it. But that's me this morning, I think. So I get it now.
Unpaid political advertisement for cheeseburger. The place at Lacey Springs, Graves Grocery or whatever it is on the left, has a very good double cheeseburger.
Really?
They do.
And I didn't know.
I didn't either until
is that the way you go to Huntsville?
Quite often.
Or
it avoids the traffic on 565.
When I was driving to work, I often went through Lacey Springs and up through there, but I don't remember seeing that Graves Grocery.
It's a white building on the left going that way. They have live music at lunch on Wednesday. And I thought I would check it out this past
It's good to support these little places. I suspect they're struggling. We went to a new place last Sunday. I don't guess they're struggling, but they're new. Out at Reeves Peaches, they have a restaurant now. So we went there and ate. It's kind of a sandwich salad kind of a thing. Chips, it's not dinner. But it was nice. It was good. We enjoyed it. Tried to eat out on the back porch. It's a little too windy and cold. I see that Lee Bowling is watching, and I saw another. There's Terry's cousin Marilyn, or her husband Jeff. I don't always get to see who's tuned in. There's Evelyn Garrison almost always tunes in. She's with us today down in Florida. So she always reminds me or makes me think of Donna Serta. But so the Stevenson's going to be spending all of their time and money on doctors all week long. So pray that that'll do some good. Linda had some tests run today, and I haven't heard the results about that. But let's keep Linda Crow in our prayers as well. I don't know if Ann Sanders is back in town yet or not, but she's been visiting relatives off for since her first chance to be away since JL's passing. So I hope she's doing well. The Lord's blessing her. Saw a good picture of you on Facebook this week. You were in your kitchen.
Yeah, they stopped by for their trick-or-treat candy.
Yep, good. Did you have any trick-or-treaters come by?
Not a one.
Did y'all have any come by?
Well, the only one that come was my grandson.
Yeah. Well, we had a pretty good stream, but it wasn't as many as last year as far as here at church.
Usually we have a whole bunch around there, and even there's a bus that usually comes with black kids that comes in our area, but they didn't even come this year. So I didn't have any trick-or-treaters.
I think some...
Well, nothing but my 2 grandkids come.
We haven't had any since Pamela graduated from high school.
Well, usually we have a bunch. I mean, in our area, but there's no kids in our neighborhood. There's one little girl lives next door to me, and as far as I know, on down the street, they're all grown people. There's no little kids on our street anymore.
I didn't ask Randy if he had anybody come by, but I think some folks went on Friday night, some went on Saturday night, but we didn't have anybody at our house. And then we here at the church Sunday night, we did have quite a few come by, drive by, and but times are changing and are different.
But that's what I'm saying. We usually have so many that comes down our street, but we did not have a one this year.
I'll tell Benson, she says, think we need to get any candy for the trick-or-treaters, so she probably won't have any, but I'll go get a bag of candy. And yes, honey, I'll get the good stuff, because I'll probably have to eat it.
Well, the thing of it is, if I buy candy, I've got to find somebody to give it to, because I'm a diabetic, so I can't eat it. But the ones I did give the little girl next door, she eats I've got sugar-free candy. It's little chocolate with nuts in it. She loves it. Every time she sees me, when she goes outside, she'll run over to my house and have her hand out, wanting a piece of candy.
I get dark
She's
chocolate because it's supposed to be good for your blood pressure.
She's 2 and early 3 years old. Well, I use it for a laxative. I eat 4 at night. If I don't, I have trouble the next day. And
All right,
my daughter-in-law is the one that told me about it, and Clayton said, well, why are you eating that? And I said, well, ask your wife. He said, what? And I told him, and he just died laughing. He said, you got to be kidding. I said, no. And that's the only time I eat it. I don't eat it during the day or any other time. But that little girl next door, she loves it.
I'm sure, and there are others. I'm just combing through my mind and brain. We got together with family. We had one of our little great nephews had a birthday, and our family uses that as an excuse to get together, and so we gathered over at their house, and oddly enough, it was a Halloween doing last night, so many people dressed up. Terry even got me a T-shirt, so she was dressed up as a ladybug, and I was the one with the ladybug, so that was what my T-shirt said. Braves won the World Series Tuesday night, and that's a big thing here in this part of the country. And when I was watching Auburn yesterday, they weren't doing too well, and Alabama.
No, they didn't.
Alabama finally squeaked by.
Auburn lost by a bunch.
Really?
20-3.
They were playing.
That 3 they got, first.
Yeah, they
That's
were 3-3 for a long.
That's the only score they made.
3-3 for a long time. We were watching that during
Well,
the break.
both of them was 3 for a long time.
So, and those are the things that are of note, but not quite as important as some of the other things we're talking about. Let's have prayer, and then let's jump in Colossians. It is one of Paul's more formal letters, and yet he seems to be less excited as far as being he's just really emotional in some of them. But here, it seems to be he's calmer, and so that's all right. Let's pray. Father, thank you for those who are here this morning in this place, and those who have tuned in to visit us or be with us electronically. Thank you for that possibility for as long as it may last. Thank you for blessing us this week with your goodness and your grace. There are those who've had great difficulty, however, and trial, and it is not because you do not love them or you do not care or you are not watching. But Father, those times come to all of us. You bring us to them and through them. So if we are in a time of strength and clarity, help us to grab somebody by the hand and lead them through. We do praise you and lift you up, and we pray this, Lord Jesus, in your name. Amen. We're still in Colossians 2. Look at 2:7. There's something I wanted to go back and kind of hit again. It's talking about the liberty of the gospel today from our quarterly. But here in verse 7 it says, rooted and built up in him. And so here's a very good image of that Paul takes advantage of. Rooted, having strong roots. That means going deep, having some depth to our lives. Jesus talked about the fact that sometimes he compared the things that we do for him or that we do in our life might be like seed that fell on shallow ground. It sprang up quickly, but it didn't have any root. A lot of the nutrients I was always fascinated by in school when they taught us about photosynthesis. And the teacher had a plant that she was purposefully had it leaning to one direction. She put it over in the window, and by the end of the school that day, that plant was leaning toward the window where the sunshine was. And the plants, God made the plant life on this planet capable of taking sunlight and just the elements that are in the air. That's what leaves are all about, we found out. They're collectors. Those leaves open up and they point up and they actually bring in nourishment. It can be photosynthesis means taking something that is photonic, something that is just light, and changing it into substance. It's a miracle. But also a great deal of the nutrients we know comes from the earth. All the iron and the calcium, the potassium. A lot of the medications, I guess this class, I don't know about everybody tuning in, this class is probably the medication class. I don't know if y'all take as much as I do or not. I rattle when I take my pills. So my doctor says, eat bananas. You're going to, all these medications, they're just going to really knock you out of the potassium crowd. So But, I love bananas about
You
as
know
much as
what?
anybody. Uh-huh.
What I ate for a sandwich,
A banana sandwich or a peanut butter banana?
peanut butter banana.
A lot of people like peanut butter and, banana and mayonnaise sandwich.
No,
I
I've
don't
never
care
eaten
for
one
that.
of
No,
those. I've never eaten one of those,
No.
but I like it with a peanut butter banana. It makes a good sandwich.
Peanut butter and sardines are good.
well, yeah, I've
They
heard of
told me
that.
it was good that I eat that.
That doesn't sound appetizing. I like bananas, and I love banana pudding, especially when my mother-in-law makes it. But I get tired of them. I'll eat them for a while, and I say, I don't. And Terry said, "Are you not going to eat them bananas?" I said, "No, I'm gonna wait till they get a few more spots on them, then I'm gonna throw them away." I don't know how y'all treat bananas, but I'll get a bunch, and usually when I buy them, they're green and too green to eat, unless I really want one. I eat one about half green. Doesn't seem to bother me. But I'll watch it. Yeah, so I don't like to put a banana in the refrigerator. I know that would keep
No,
longer, but
I've
a
never
cold
put
banana just sounds
I've never put a banana
That's
in a
what-
sandwich. I mean, in a
That's what I do
refrigerator.
with mine. I wrap it in paper towel, and then I wrap it in newspaper, and then I put it inside a Ziploc bag, and they last even 9 days.
Right.
But
I've
they
known
are
people
cold.
put them in a paper sack. Yeah, I've heard people putting them in one of these brown lunch bags and roll it up like that. That it
They
helps it
last.
last. Yeah, and but like I said, I get a little weary of them, and so I found through Amazon that I can just order some potassium tablets, and they seem to do the trick. If I don't take those tablets though, there's something in my medication just makes every joint in my body lose all of its lubrication and freeness of motion, and I can't hardly move without hurting. But roots is where we're a plant, and he says be rooted, and so he's talking about find depth. I think a lot of times as I'm looking through social media and looking at news and reporting, I see a lot of shallowness. A lot of shallowness. People, they don't have much to them. They just seem like they're easily shaken, easily uprooted. They seem to be easily upset. I think the word today is triggered. Just pull the trigger and they just go off. Well, that's an indication, not only for them, but for us, that we lack roots. And so, can I explain to you how to get roots? No, I don't know if I can. It's the kind of things that involve seeking knowledge, seeking experience, increasing in wisdom. I think those are the kind of things, however that might be done, or you might enjoy that. Instead of just always seeking pleasure or entertainment, those things are good, and I enjoy those things as well. But instead of just looking for the pleasantries of life, having depth to your life has something to do with work and with being studious and being open and inquisitive, curious. And then he says, built up. And so he says, he's saying rooted and built up. So going down, going up. Building means obviously adding things to your life, new things, having new aspects to your life. I'm always, it's important for me to try new things, to look at new things. I don't want to become someone who is just set in their ways and has a narrow mind. I try to read different authors. I try to listen to all kinds of music. Now, let me tell you, I guess that I could tell you that I'm not a great fan of opera. But I've heard opera, and I've seen opera on television. I've never been to an opera, so I can't. I think I probably should not say anything about whether I like it or not, unless I've ever been to one. But there's the Julia Roberts movie, Pretty Woman. Have you ever seen that? It's a romantic comedy. She plays a woman for hire, and Richard Gere plays a person who pays for her company. And she's a very bright person, of course, very attractive, and but she's very impetuous and just kind of all over the place. And she's never been exposed to, I would guess you would say, the nicer things in life, the finer things, just simply because of her circumstances. And it doesn't tell us a lot about her background. I'm not recommending the movie or certainly the lifestyle. But there's a scene. I went and watched it on YouTube this week. I didn't want to watch the whole movie again. I've seen it. I don't know. And of course, I love Roy Orbison's theme song. "Pretty Woman" is just one of his greatest hits. But on one occasion, the Richard Gere character took Julia Roberts to the opera, and she was all dressed very nice. And he had gotten her a necklace. Her hair was. He had taken her to have her hair done and her nails. It was a whole big thing. So. But at an opera, it's almost always traditionally sung in Italian. And so I don't even remember, evidently I didn't study this too hard, but it was an Italian opera, and I don't know which one, I can't remember any of the songs. But anyway, it kind of showed on and off. They were up in a box seat, and they were sitting with some other people, friends and acquaintances, and everybody was decked out. It's really high society, very classy. It was a place where certainly I wouldn't fit in. But it showed her emotions throughout the whole opera, at bits and pieces in different shots, and how she was responding emotionally to the opera. And at one place, they were just singing away in Italian, and her eyes just filled with tears. And it just touched her, it moved her. And I thought, she was such a wonderful actress anyway, and I thought, that's great. Here's something, she obviously feels the emotion, even though she doesn't understand the language. And I thought, I don't know if you ought to say this in Sunday school lesson or not, but the final scene in that scene was someone said, the lady sitting next to her said, "Oh, did you enjoy that?" She said, "I almost peed my pants." But and then she said, "What?" And Richard Gere says she said she enjoyed it as much as Pirates of Penzance, and she said, "Oh." So you can take the girl out of the country or the country out of the girl, whatever. But it only went so far. She wasn't completely cultured and high class when she left. But that was her favorite way, evidently, of saying it was really, really good. Can I sound like Joan Rivers now? Can we talk now? I just want to say, I hope that you're always on the lookout for something to taste or see what this feels like. Or I like to listen to lots of different kinds of music. There's some that I prefer, but I tell people, they say, "What kind of music do you like?" That's one of the security questions that we have to ask employees at NASA when we're going to be helping them break into a computer. I have to ask them questions that they've already answered, and they have to have the right answers. If they don't, I have to say, "I can't help you. You don't know what your mother's maiden name was. You could be Chinese or a Russian agent or something like that." So and they say, you "What?" And I said, "No, I got to give you this telephone number to call, and you got to call them, because I can't help you get into that computer if you don't know what your favorite kind of music was." So that's one of our questions.
You remember Jerry Jeff Walker?
Doesn't ring a bell.
He was a musician from Texas, died the last couple of years. And he had a song one time called "I Don't Feel Like Hank Williams Tonight."
I don't feel like and you remember there was a song that Waylon Jennings, I think he wrote it, and I certainly recorded. "I don't think Hank done it this way. Don't think Hank done it this way." And I didn't know Waylon Jennings started out as a country singer. But then when he kind of hooked up with Willie Nelson, they kind of started this outlaw thing, about outlaws, and actually it just drew some attention to them, and it got them arrested several times. And Waylon recorded this song and says, I think this outlaw thing just got out of hand. It was fun and it seemed funny, and it increased our popularity. But see, I just think. even Willie said, he said they broke into our hotel room and arrested us for something that was gone. So they arrested them anyway, even though what they was looking for was gone. They arrested us for something that was gone. It had been there, but it wasn't there anymore. Well, rooted and built up. He's talking about, I have a friend I used to work, Don Mayhew, used to work with the Trotec Laser Company with him, and sometimes when we were out of sorts or things weren't going well and we were working together, often two employees would work together, and he would say, he said, my acupuncturist would say, you're out of balance. And I said, what? He said, you're out of balance. He said, a little Chinese lady. That probably sounds very racist, but he said, we just need to stick some needles and pins in you and get you adjusted so you're back in balance, get you balanced. You're a little bit of this and too much. You know, most Oriental or Asian or Eastern people, they are horrified by the fact that we will sit down at a meal and we will enjoy hot food and cold food. And they say, oh no, that'll get you out of balance in a minute. Hot and cold, hot and cold. So no, that's a contradictory. That, you know, we have ice, whatever, with almost anything. They said no. That's why they have hot tea and hot beverages. Well, let's look at verse 16. He says, "Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a holy day, or the new moon or the Sabbath days." Now, here again, we might specifically say they were Jewish Christians who were still insisting on this. But let me say, you may have had, or you may have acquaintances who will give the impression they don't think you're living just exactly the best kind of Christian life that you could, because there are certain elements that they don't approve of. And here, you know, holy days, and there might be things you eat, but they say, oh no, a good Christian wouldn't eat that, a good Christian wouldn't drink that, or you don't observe this observance, you don't follow these directions or this instructions. He says, don't let anybody judge you on that. It's odd that there are people, many people in the world, who feel like they have not only the right, but the responsibility of telling you how you can kind of be a better person. Now, as a preacher and a pastor and a teacher, I do want to share information. I want to teach the Bible, but I would never presume to, I just want to give you things to think about and pray about, and things to consult the Scriptures about, things to, I do think that God has the privilege and the right of instructing us and changing us and telling us right from wrong. And so I might tell you what the Bible says and say, you look at that and see if you think that this is in fact what it says. But that's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about, and he's going to make great reference here to what in your lesson is called asceticism. Asceticism. That means the appearance of things, the way things look, the shape, the content. There are many people who still believe that we're, as far as God's concerned, we're kind of in a beauty contest. He either likes us or he don't like us, according to, you know.
God loves everybody.
Yeah. Now here he says, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. He says, you know, yes, there were holy days. There were feasts. Yes, there were things to eat, things not to eat. But he says when Jesus arrived, when Jesus showed up, we didn't need the symbols anymore. We didn't. We had then the embodiment, the flesh, the reality of all those, of what all of those things were only pictures of. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels. Now, here's an odd thing, and this is, I believe, the only place that it's mentioned in the Bible, but this gives I've read quite a few commentaries. There must have been a fad. there must have been a theological or religious fad that was traveling around where people were really getting going a little bit too extreme with the study of angelology. Angels are messengers of God. They're spirit beings. I believe in angels. I believe that they're just other creatures that God have made, and they're of a spiritual nature. And we see their appearance in the Bible very much. But we're not ever supposed to look at angels or follow angels, study about angels, think about angels. It's not, back in the 70s and 80s, I would run into people who studied demonology. They were always casting demons out of people. If you had a sore toe, you probably had a sore toe demon, When I was in seminary, we were down in the lounge one time, and there's this young man there, and he said, "Oh, no, that I got this Hebrew exam." He said, "I just don't know any of the material." And so my friend went over to him and put hands on his head, and he says, "Come out of him, dummy demon." And he was really just trying to lighten the situation. He really wasn't trying to cast a dummy demon out of him. But Jesus did wrestle with the principalities and powers. But I don't. For me, I want to leave that to Him. I've been in meetings before where some poor soul came charging in under the influence of something or someone that was just disturbing and frightening. I wonder, I've often in my life come face to face with what I thought was real and true evil. I was listening to what's Mr. Peterson's name? He's on all the social media. Anyway, he's always spouting wisdom. Peterson. It'll come to me in a moment. Someone will help me. He says, a lot of the trouble that people get into emotionally and psychologically has to do with their being naive. He says, if you kind of have an idea that all people are good and that life is basically good, he says, if a person like that ever comes face to face with true evil, he says they're not prepared for it. It catches them off guard. It deeply wounds them. I do believe that there is an element with all the goodness that is in the world and all the wonderful blessings of God. I've heard some examples this week of just true, genuine evil. Sometimes I'm flipping through the channels on television, these crime dramas. I'm thinking, my goodness. And there was one that I got caught by it somehow or another, and it was about little girls that were being kidnapped and their lives taken from them. And I thought, there are people who do that. I guess the reason, I'll tell you, I think the reason I continued to watch it was because I wanted to get caught. I don't want to just go on and say, well, that's terrible. But I said, I'm going to watch this show because I want to. And they did. And I said, well, kind of felt like my brain was dirty then. But they at least caught him, and I could say, okay. But imagine having someone who is harmed in that way, and they never catch a perpetrator. And we talk a lot about finality or about closure, and so sometimes there's just not, even when they catch the person. There is evil in the world. He said, don't be worshiping angels, intruding into those things which he had not seen, and vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind. I found out that a lot of these super spiritual kind of experiences, a lot of people were just kind of like on a pride trip, like I'm up here and you're down there, and I'm not built up, but I'm smarter than you are. I'm more spiritual. I have greater spiritual gifts. And he said, a lot of these things, if you feel like you're qualified to be giving advice and telling people how they are mistaken about things and should be following angels or this or that, he says, it's really just a pride. They're puffed up. And not holding the head from which all the body, the head he's talking about is Christ, by joints and bands having nourishment, ministered and knit together increases with the increase of God. Wherefore, if you be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are you subject to ordinances? In Jesus' day, Judaism was just filled with things to do, religious steps. It's like they sit on the edge of the bed, and before they get out of bed in the morning, they have certain prayers that they pray, certain verses that they read. There are Christians who cross themselves in certain ways, or anoint themselves with certain oils, and quote certain scriptures, and it's a routine that I'm sure probably they feel that it gives them order, and that's what an ordinance is. But he says those things can be just like chains. You ever, let me just say, I don't know if you've ever had anything like this. There may be something that you always kind of that you do, and it may be nonsensical. I used to have a friend who used to stroke or rub a rabbit's foot. Where would you get a rabbit's foot? I remember seeing, growing up, where everybody on their keychain had a rabbit's foot. Do you have a rabbit's foot now? Where would you get a rabbit's foot if you wanted one? Could you order one?
Go buy it at the store.
Yeah, I don't know where. But, if there's something that you rubbed a rabbit's foot, or patted a cat on the head or something like that, if you ever woke up one morning and couldn't find your rabbit's foot, you might have just an awful, terrible day. You say, see there, I had an awful day. But it's really just kind of, it's not because you didn't get to rub the rabbit's foot. I always thought, if I talked to that rabbit, he said, that wasn't all that lucky.
I started to say the rabbit wasn't lucky.
So I don't think it's very lucky.
Somebody cut his foot off.
Yeah. And he said, look right here, verse 21, touch not, taste not, handle not. And of course, he's not talking about true morality or spirituality. But if your life is being structured by the do's and the don'ts of the thou shalt and thou shalt nots, he says, which are all to perish with the using after the commandments and doctrines of men, which things have indeed are a show of wisdom and will worship and humility and neglecting of the body, not in any honor of the satisfying of the flesh. Well, he's saying the gospel is something that it does truly give us liberty and freedom. It was good news to people of Jesus' day. The common people. I see some diets. I'm probably I'm larger and more obese. I've owned that. When you go get your health checkup and they say check the obese box, okay, you've stopped hurting my feelings a long time ago, so just go right ahead. But I look at a lot of these, the Caribbean diet, this kind of diet. But a lot of these diets, you would have to be pretty well off financially to faithfully follow a lot of these diets. You got to purchase this plan, or you got to buy the kind of foods that probably are healthier foods. Or let's say if you wanted to go to a natural food store, they're always more expensive. So the poor people in Jesus' day could not possibly be as dedicated and devout and committed as the Pharisees, the upper echelon, because they could give lots of money to the temple. They could wear phylacteries around their forehead or their wrists. They could even go to the temple every day instead of having to go to work. And so when Jesus came, he said, you know what? That is not the way to find God or to serve God. And so a lot of these rules and regulations, a lot of these, and remember, the Colossians were Gentile people. And Paul is really saying, you're really kind of hearing a lot of the hang-alongs and the tag-alongs from Judaism. A lot of this, do this, don't do that. He says, touch not, taste not, handle not. He says, no. There are people who do those kind of things, and they say, all right, me and God are like, we're like this. And he says, no. He says, it's about being rooted and built up in Christ. He says, it's about Jesus and the liberty and the freedom that he gives us. He says, a lot of this stuff is just as he says, from men. From men. Well, I could see Billy Graham wrote a book on angels many years ago. It's called Angels, God's Secret Agents. It's pretty good. You know, Billy wasn't a theologian. He was a preacher, but he wasn't a scholar. But he could write. He was a good writer, and some of the books that he wrote in his lifetime were worthy of any scholar. And his little book on angels, if you ever want to learn about angels, there's nothing wrong with understanding what the Bible teaches about angels. I don't know how it was those kind of things were described when you were growing up. We were taught about going to seed on something. Going to seed, that means you're just overdoing it. See, anybody got another phrase like that, or overdoing something, or does anything occur to you of a phrase that you've heard? Someone would say he went to pot on that, so I don't know, maybe some other things. But he was saying, you know, you can just, there obviously is that, I have found among evangelical Christians that you find your experts on the second coming of Jesus, and they know everything about the book of Revelation. And sometimes I want to scold them, and I would, I guess, if I thought it was my place, and say, you know what? Obviously, you know much more about Revelation than I do, but it says, you know, it kind of sounds like you're going to seed on that. There's this, everything that you study about, and every book in your library has to do with Jesus coming back. I said, you're kind of overdoing it. It's a part of it, but it's not all of it. All right. Well, pray for our folks that are going and doing the traveling this week and going to be on the road, and trust that they'll be safe in that regard, but also that they'll find and see some help and results. So y'all take care. I hope they are able to figure out some things going on with you, Ned. And don't tell them what your preacher thought it was. It might be wrong with you, because they'll say, you know, don't be listening to him. All right. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good weekend.